Hello and welcome into the SorareData show. I am Andrew Laird. You can find me as Lairdinho on Sorare. Joined today, Johnny himself. Sorry, that was a little bit of a weird
Yeah.
echo there. Johnny is here. Johnny is here to talk about
Hey.
his own topic. He was like,
Ooh.
he was like, I got to come on a show. I have something to talk about. I was like, what do you want to talk about? And he was like, progression versus domination. I was like, I'm in. I don't know what it means, but I'm in. Johnny, thanks for coming back.
Hey, I appreciate it, man. It's been a long time, too long. Glad to be back, and looking forward to engaging with the chat on this topic because, yeah, I feel like it's something that kind of hits everyone when playing the game. It's always that thought of like, do I progress or do I become stronger where I'm at? That type of thing. So let's get involved in it.
So it's actually funny because when you said that, I was like, I'm actually not sure that's even the case. Like, there's so much talk about progression. And I feel like the conversation is less should I progress or should I do what I'm doing better? And it's really just like, should I progress or should I just like keep doing what I'm doing?
Yeah.
And when you were like, no, 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 you should be trying to like dominate where you are. And I was like, you're right. And we missed that somehow.
Yeah, I feel
And
like the conversation is always about when to progress. So it's inevitable. That was the conversation always. When do I progress into the next scarcity? So I felt like there hasn't really been content on like should I even consider doing this? So
well,
I felt like that was an interesting topic to dive into.
for sure, for sure. And I'm glad you brought that up, and we'll see where the conversation goes here. Thanks everyone for joining. Looks like the Good Place, Sorar Holland, and Bob Flynn on the podium today. So thank you everybody for coming in. I got a bunch of others scrolling through. Quinny, what's up? And so FF thinker Sean Thorpe, let's have it as someone in limbo between limited and rare, interested on the takes. And I actually, the more I thought of this, um, I feel like depending on where you are is how kind of where the answer
Yeah.
lies. Um, the one thing I'm glad Bob is here because I've talked to Bob about the whole like progression thing, and Sean talks about it a lot. That fundamentally, Sorare needs to build a game where like you want to progress,
Yes.
but realistically, not everyone can, will, or wants to, and that's where we are here at this point of like what decisions or where are you in your own kind of so rare experience that where you're sitting down and you're like, all right, like it feels like I can improve,
Mm.
but what is the improvement? Is it a progression to another scarcity or just making my own cards better? I feel like you clearly side one way. And I actually wanted to bring this up right away because I'll just say it. Did your opinion on progression change when the reality of the super rare division rewards hit you? Because I think that's an important part of it. Like, let's not to
Yeah.
like put that on the
It
spot, but I
definitely
think
did.
that is an
Yeah.
important part. That at some point, is the progression actually not even worth it?
Yeah. So basically, if you just look at one of the tweets of Basilbot or Basilbot, I don't know how to pronounce his name,
Yeah,
sorry.
Basil.
But like, oh, Basil, that's how it is. Okay. So
Basil.
he posted his like last three top five finishes in under 23 super rare, I believe it was.
Yes.
And I looked at that list and I was like, why? Why do we even play the super rare division? Like, this is one thing that really bothers me. Like, for me, they completely took away the idea of progressing into super rare from people like myself who were ambitious and wanted to go there at some point. That was like the big dream. I want to play in the super rare division. That's completely gone due to the price pools and how they changed it. At one point last year, I still remember this. People were talking about Cody Gakpo when he was at like not last year, maybe even before that, when he was at PSV still, right
Yep.
before he got the move to Liverpool. He was dominating in the Eredivisie, and he was in the price pool for the reward in All Star Super Rare or like even under 23 Super Rare. Like, it was crazy. The players that you could win at that point in time are clear stars now. Like, they are up there. It's like as if you would have Jude in the pool right now, I feel like, because
Yeah.
Cody was insane at that point at PSV. So I look at the prize pools now with the Super Rare division, especially on the 23. With Champion Europe, I feel like there's still a reason to go in there because there are some really good players still in the tier 1 prize pool that I would love to win.
Mhm.
Even an actual long list of players I would love to win. But looking at the under 23s, I just don't see any point in it. And that was the place where I actually wanted to go to. I felt like, oh man, I want to win the youngsters, the ones that still have the career ahead of them, that I could just join into their career, their story now, and follow through. But yeah, that is completely gone. The star pool just being widened way too much, and it took away a reason of like, okay, do you progress now or not? And I'm more leaning on the side of not progressing, especially in under 23 super rare.
So to like clarify something, because I know there's someone out there who is listening or watching this and is like, you can't even win stars in the super rare division.
Yeah, yeah.
But the problem is that because the star pool is now so big,
Yes.
all of the cards that should be in tier 2 are now in tier 1, and
Yep.
that's what you can win in the super rare. And not many of them, but like,
Yeah.
so it's
That's
just a kind of a domino effect there that eventually those get worse. So does a poor experience of finishing highly in the super rare division and winning a reward that is completely underwhelming, and we all have experienced like an
yeah.
underwhelming reward. Like
Yeah.
it happens at every level. So I don't want to say it's just like a super rare problem. But for you, and it does seem like this has happened previously, because I feel like theoretically the best super rare should be played in the super rare division. Like that's where you
Yes.
want to play them.
Yeah.
Or they're even in the unique division because you can still
Yeah.
play them there. But instead we're seeing them in rare plus, where you win rare. You don't even win a super rare there. And
Yeah.
so the does that poor experience for you say, you know what, maybe I won't play in the super rare division and let me just dominate rare plus?
Yes, I would say so. I mean, the breaking point for me was when under 23 Rare Plus won Jude Bellingham, and then under 23 Super Air won Nico Williams. And Nico Williams at the time was like valued below Jude's Rare. That's where I was like, okay, so I can play under 23 Rare Plus with just having two of those blue cards.
Right.
I don't even have to have the blue cards. I can win a Jude there and get myself player worth. At the time, he was like 1.6, 1.8K.
Yeah.
Um, and then Nico Williams on the other side, where I have to spend so much to get an under 23 goalkeeper and all that stuff. They're so expensive for a terrible return when you compare the league. So I was sat there thinking, okay, why even progress then? What's the point? Why should I do this? I mean, right now I'm in a position where what is that? Progression to spend more to win less surely isn't progression. Exactly. That's the point. So I think that is one of the biggest issues that Sorare definitely has to address. You cannot have the rare or rare plus division reward stuff that is more valuable than the super rare division. I get that the unique division needs its prize pool. I totally understand. So, yes, give them the stars. That's okay. They spend the most money. That's fine. If I was playing unique division, I would hate to win only a tier 1 super rare and never get my hands on
Yeah.
any of the stars. So I completely understand the bigger accounts why they would be upset with that. But in the super rare division, there has to be an incentive, and that is sadly not there at the moment.
I've talked to Bob Flynn about this previously, and I'm glad he shared it here. And he said, for me, progressing requires three things: time, money, and skill.
Yeah.
I would argue that domination of your current level requires those three things as well.
I'd say it's
Um,
more time and skill when you want to dominate. It's not necessarily money because you can have the odd stack of, I don't know, Wolfsburg for one game week, and that's when they smash. And that's when you get one of the best rewards in Champion Europe all of a sudden. And then you progress within the division, the rare division. You keep bringing in better players. I feel like it's more time in that sense. In Super Rare, every decision you make, at least for people with a budget like mine, has to be perfect. if that one goalkeeper you buy half a season later is not playing, that's you done.
Yeah.
That's you're done. So I feel like it's more time. Like I would maybe switch the order. It's time, skill, and money in rare, and then in super, I would say time, money, and skill.
Yeah, I guess I just don't consider building the Wolfsburg stack for one game week as domination. Like I look at it as putting in resources in rare cards and super rare cards. If we're specifically talking rare plus, but even if it's just rare, like you're buying the cards that will help you win every single game week.
Yeah,
And that I think
ideally,
always
yeah.
takes money. Yeah.
Yeah, of course. I mean, ideally, that's the position you want to be in. You want to have the stacks of the best teams, or semi stacks at least, have those ready to go for each game week to combine them and get the best out of them. So I do agree with you on that one.
We have a weird thing, and Parapress brought this up, and I know that Parapress has recently started trying to do Cap 240 super rare. But he said 100% agree, Chani. I'm progressing to incorporate threshold into my strategy, but putting full teams into super rare comps doesn't entice me. So I'm a weird place right now. Like it is the number of people who have built uh, super rare Cap 240 teams. Inevitably, you need more cards than just what goes into that, but like putting them into the regular comps, you're just like, there's no there's there's no easy incentive to be like, actually, this team is really good. Let me put in an all-star. Like
Hmm.
it's almost you're better off just playing it in
Yeah.
240, which I think is a different conversation anyway. But like that's one of the problems with progressing up is that at some point you probably get stuck and it
Yeah.
takes time.
Mm.
And as we know, 3 game weeks feels like 5 years sometimes. And
Yeah.
so, it really will test your patience on that
Real
front.
quick on that. In Cap T40 Super Rare, you cannot use a unique, but in All Star, you can, right?
Yeah.
So that also makes a big difference. So once you take it out of a capped mode and you want to compete an All Star, you're automatically up against some insane cards with massive bonuses with the uniques, obviously, which just makes it so much harder. Like you have to have the perfect week. I think with my Feyenoord stack, I had over 500 points and I still didn't get top three. So
Yeah.
it's not easy up there.
Do you think that the jump, because I don't even want to, like, I think we've established that moving from rare plus to super rare just doesn't feel worth it right now. But the move from rare to rare plus, like, what's at what point are you playing rare and you say to yourself, I should make this team a lot better, or let me go get some super rares?
Um, so ideally for me personally, when I'm playing rare right now, my strategy is to have high XP cards of good teams, stack them together if I can, or use two semi stacks and put them together. That's the way I like to play it, because if I put that in rare, I feel like I'm in a unique spot where I feel very comfortable with my cards, knowing they have high XP and that no one can just put in a super rare in there that has 30 something percent that's going to beat me easily. So that's where I focus on All Star. If I don't have good super rares to put in between those rare players,
Mhm.
but every single game week, the case is like, okay, I have the option of playing All Star Rare Plus, where if I get first, I'm probably getting one of the best rewards. If I do get first in All Star Rare, it might be someone in that star pool that's further down. And
Yeah.
I might be opening my reward and being a little bit disappointed still because I wasn't able to grab the best of the best. So that's definitely a thought every time I have to make a decision. Okay, do I have good enough super rares to jump into the plus division?
Did you already have super rares when you decided to prioritize rare plus more? If that makes sense. Like,
Um,
actually, let me change the question. Was there a point where you were like, I'm going to go play super rare division?
yeah, when I wanted to play Under 23 Super Rare, that's
And
like
so,
I slowly progressed into Under 23 Rare Plus. Got my
mhm,
first two Under 23 Super Rares, just listening to Sean basically, right?
yep,
Just progressing that way, and then the more of those Under 23 Super Rares I got, where I was like having defenders, midfielders, forwards, then that big investment into an under 23 super rare goalkeeper. That's when I had decided to move into the super rare division. I don't think it's I don't want to say smart, but I don't think it doesn't feel natural to progress from just playing under 23 rare to all of a sudden buying 5 super rares to just run in under 23 super rare.
Sure.
I think barely anyone has probably done that. I would assume most people have kind of progressed from rare plus into the super rare division.
And did you feel like your super rares in rare plus were, I don't want to say strong enough, but basically, like, was there a point where you were like, my rare plus team can't get better, so I'll go to super rare? Or was it, let me just try super rare?
It was more, let me just try. It was
Yeah.
more the carrot dangling in front of me, like, oh, Kakpo super rare, you know.
Yeah.
That was the thing, which isn't there anymore. So guys, don't try it. But I right now, if I have really good under 23 super rares ready to go, definitely under 23 rare plus, or ideally champion Europe rare plus. That's
Yeah.
why
Yeah.
currently I'm more focusing on getting champ Euro super rares, because you just have to listen to what Sorare themselves are saying and just follow their lead a lot of times with what is happening on the game. So Nicolas coming out with star players, be star players, that type of stuff. It just made me focus even more on Champion Europe and going into that direction. And as I mentioned earlier as well, Champion Europe Super Air still feels worth it in terms of the top reward you can win. I feel like there's still an incentive to jump in there and play for it.
Hmm.
So I have actually worked my way into like the Girona stack fully nearly with the 4 players with Gaza, Blind, Aleix Garcia, obviously, and then Tsigankov as well. So I'm kind of following Sorare on their lead on that type of stuff a lot.
Yeah. Like, I'm just quickly looking at the Champion Europe tier one pool, which is what
Mhm.
is up for grabs there. I mean, you have Declan Rice, Cherky, Oshiman, Neuer. Like, there are
Yeah,
some very good, Teo
there's some.
Hernandez. This is
Yeah,
really good, actually.
there's some really good ones in there. Yeah, I mean
Yeah.
that's. Hold on, is that the midweek? Oh no,
That's for
that's
this weekend. Yeah.
wrong week. I'm looking at. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah, I mean, I get it at that point. But like you said, like, it only feels like that's a champion one. Like, you're gonna, if
yeah.
you pull up all stars, all of a sudden it's like, I don't know who these people are.
Yeah, look at the under 23. Fling Flong just said, let's see how many of these guys we know.
That's bad for me, but so tier one, do you actually get a tier one for? I mean, I assume you do.
I think you do.
Before we, before I speak out of line here.
I'm pretty confident you do normally.
Okay, so yeah, 1 tier 1 and 5 tier 2. So here's your tier 1 list.
I mean,
Mm.
Anthony Gordon right now is on the market for, I believe, his super rare was around 1,500 euros. I'm not too sure. But again, that's not what he used to be.
Sure.
Can you actually go back to old game weeks and see that prize pool as well?
Yeah.
Like, I don't know, 100 game weeks ago? Is that possible? I mean, that takes a long time, doesn't it? But
It might
generally
not.
speaking,
It might not actually. Let me see if I can. So what do we say? Like, I don't want to do summer
which game
though.
week are we at right now?
Let's try like April, or no, mid-February. Is February
Last
far
year?
enough, or do you want to go full? That's it.
You mean last year, February?
Yeah.
Yeah, let's do it. Let's see
17
what
through
comes
21.
out.
Let's see if I can force this.
Actually excited to see what is in there now. Oh, you can do it like that.
I don't. We'll see. We'll
Let's
see.
see. Oh,
There you go.
okay. To his defense, Formosa Mendy last season,
He was great.
before he was at Lorient, was like
Yeah.
the GOAT in
Yeah, he was.
defense. Kenneth
Where was he?
Taylor was a
Amiens?
beast as
Amiens?
well. Yeah, Amiens, exactly.
Yep.
Pandur, okay, just because the under 23 goalkeeper. The Kuiper is in there. Carlson, he was insane
He was
at AZ
insane.
Alkmaar. He was
Yeah.
unbelievable. So you do have a couple of players in there already. But if you go even further back into like 2022, I believe, you would, I mean, look at that. Reece James, Darwin Nunez, like these are Araujo. There's some really good players in there. I feel like it's a massive difference as to compared to what we have now.
I found
Are you
another
going
one.
to go 2022? Let's do
Yeah.
it. Yes. Oh, yeah, there you go. I didn't know you could do it like that. Oh, see, they took it out so that we don't have evidence.
Let me try a different one. 8 through 12 April.
Come on.
Yeah, they might not have it that far back.
That sucks.
Nicola's over there with the paper shredder getting rid of the evidence. Just kidding. Just kidding.
Quick.
Well, Mbappe was probably, he wasn't a tier 1. He wouldn't have been tier 1, but you might have
that
gotten
would
like
be
a
crazy.
Hakimi or
Yeah.
guys like that.
Yeah, so generally under 23 Super Air is probably the worst division when it comes to Super Air, but Champ, I still see a reason to why people would like to progress into it.
Right.
But going back to our topic,
Yes.
domination versus progression. So the idea behind it was, okay, so I'm playing in the Rare Plus mostly. That's the biggest division I focus on right now, which you guys call Div 3, right?
I
So
don't, but I know
no, you
Sean
don't
does.
anymore? Okay, Sean does, I guess. So that's the division which I focus on the most because I don't see a reason as to why to progress into Super Rare other than Champ Euro Super Rare on the odd game week. Mostly why I bought that Girona stack is because I can also utilize them in the Rare Plus divisions. So I look at that and think, okay, if I can win rewards in here that are valued just as well as the ones a scarcity above in Super Rare, why should I move up? There is no reason to do so. So ideally, what I need to do is I need to get the best players I possibly can within the division right now, and then get above average super rares, ideally even better than that. Those types of players into my gallery to be competing for the cash spots, right? Because cash right now is king on the game with how values have dropped a lot. I feel like that's a thing that a lot of people are focusing on right now as well, with especially the threshold. I know you've discussed that into the ground, so I don't want to open that door right now. But yeah, like I feel like staying where I'm at now and just building up what I have in these divisions with the players I have, that's probably the spot where I can yield the most rather than just taking a chance and going even further. Like I was thinking about, oh, what if I buy a Champion Europe unique? And then I caught myself falling into that thought even more and more. And luckily, I didn't do it because I would have regretted it. I was thinking of Sam Johnston, the goalkeeper from Crystal Palace. At the time, he was getting a lot of playtime. Now he's on the bench again.
Yeah.
So I'm like, nah, let's not risk it because sitting on a unique that becomes a DMP, that would be extremely painful. I know the pain of doing it with super rares. That's
Yeah.
already terrible. But with uniques, if that's your only one you have, I don't want to go through that.
Yeah. It's killer. It's killer. So it seems like the decision is like the decision almost makes itself when it comes from going from rare plus to super rare, like the way the game mechanics work. It just seems like you're better off trying to make your rare plus lineups better.
Yeah.
Do you think that the same thing applies with rare though? That at some point you're like, most people, I'll put it this way, most people can improve their rare cards. Like there are
Mhm.
very few, but there are some galleries on the platform where you're just like, yeah, you have all the rares you would ever, the best ones. But what goes into the decision of, do I try to turn my Carlos Heel into a Kimmich, or do I keep Carlos Heel and instead try to get a super rare to go into rare plus? Like, it seems like the progression from rare to rare plus is more of a conversation in terms of
Mm.
progression versus domination.
I mean, I genuinely believe it could be a good strategy now instead of wasting that much money, not wasting, but like spending that much money on the super rares to just really go all in the rare divisions and just trying to get the best players and playing them week in, week out. And just statistically speaking, a lot of game weeks, you're probably going to be picking up a bunch of rewards. And if you have the patience, sell those rewards because you already have technically some of the best cards and then build up a budget that then you feel comfortable with saying like, okay, now I can make educated decisions. I'm picking up a few pieces, multiple pieces, and progressing into the other divisions rather than, oh, I now have enough for an average super rare. So let me just go ahead and get this guy. And then you're sat there with your rares and just one super rare and thinking, okay, now I have to get a second. How long is it going to take you to get there as well now? And then you have two average super rares with like L15, 50, let's put it that way. And then you put them into the rare plus and you realize, oh, wait, people have Kibbish super rares in here. I can't compete against that with my average Joes. So I do feel like in that sense, domination within the rare divisions, getting those high XP cards, getting those ideally what you want to do, get the collections or at least some pieces to up to like 3% of the new season cards and play in those rare divisions and try to get the best out of the best teams that are within the game to bring in more and more rewards. That could definitely be something that people could be approaching the game with, in my opinion.
So I'm glad you brought that up because it does feel like the advice that we've talked about on this channel for years, and it Sean is probably the one who is the biggest advocate of playing rare plus over rare.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, that too. But basically, the argument was fewer people play rare plus, and so and the rewards are generally better. Like the first place in rare plus usually gets a better
Yeah.
reward than the winner of rare. It doesn't always happen, but it happens more often. And I feel like the advice used to be get 3 really good rares and 2 pretty good super rares,
Yeah.
and you should be okay. And the reason that was okay is because the really good super rares were in the super rare and unique division. So now
And they
that
were
they're
also
not,
a lot more expensive back then.
absolutely,
Like,
absolutely.
getting the really good super rares would cost you 10K plus.
Yes.
Now it's a different story. You can get them for 3K. Yeah.
And because of that, the elite one, more people can have them. And so we rare plus is now where the elite rares and the elite super rares go.
Yeah.
And so Sean will, I think, continue to argue that like you should still play rare plus. But I
Mm.
think that there is a very reasonable belief that maybe I just play rares. And not to say there aren't still elite rares in the rare division. There are plenty of them.
Yeah, but at least you
But
know what you're competing against, right?
right.
You know the max limit that you're up against when you play just the rare division. There's no limit hits in there. There's no super rares in there. You know, that's the limit that people could possibly get to. They can only use the same cards I'm technically able to use. Let's just put them in here. Strongest lineup possible. And I think if you play just one specific scarcity division, like the rare in All Star, for example, I think your pick scores and stuff like that are probably even more of an indication as to how well you will do. Because I think the pick score and stuff like that is probably a little bit complicated when you involve the super rares into the scoring. So if you play in the All-Star rare division and you put
Mhm.
all your players in there, I would personally assume if you have some of the best players with some decent XP and stuff, then your pick score is probably going to be looking very, very good compared to when you obviously go into the rare plus and then have 3 elite rares with the 2 average, above average players.
No, I think that's absolutely right. I was just trying to look up. So this past weekend, there were more Kimmich super rares in Champion Europe Rare Plus than there were in Super Rare.
Oh, wow. Yeah, makes sense.
It always, yeah, it always just like I get it, but I don't think Rare Plus is nearly. I was going to say it's easy. It's never been easy, but I think
It's more
the
accessible now,
yes, yes,
right? That's what it is. And I wonder
um,
if that's what they want, right? So a lot of times the discussion has been about does does Sorare want to bring the prices down to a level where they feel like most people can
mhm,
engage with those top super rares as well, even though there's only 10 a year dropping onto the
right,
market. It still feels like they're I don't know if that's just me, but I feel like it's cheap compared to before, right? If before I wanted to buy a super rare, I don't know, Schlotterbeck, I would have had to pay 10K plus. And now I can get him for 2. There's a big difference now. And again, as you said, it becomes a lot more competitive. Like now
right.
that a lot of people can buy these cards. It is now a lot harder to win in the plus divisions.
Yeah, I don't want to say the cards are cheap, but but they used to be absurd. And so
Yeah.
now they're certainly cheaper than that.
Yeah, cheaper. Yeah, that's probably a
Yeah.
better way of putting it.
There are a bunch of comments here that I want to touch on. Some really good questions here. So let's go right to Sorare Mike. Any opinions on going for a high tier U23 rare plus and rare 240, or focusing on getting super rare cap 240 with some backup options?
I think I'm the type of guy that likes to compete for cards. I know thresholds are important, but for me personally, I'd much rather win a sick card of a great player that I actually want to enjoy, like watching play. That's the one I want rather than the 200, what is it, 200 euros? They don't play football. It just sit in my wallet. It just sits in my wallet, right? So I'm the type of guy that would much rather compete for cards. But this is the thing. The game has become so much about yield and how much money you make and what your rewards are worth and stuff like that. For me, I could easily get myself a Cap 240 super rare team, possibly even a Cap 240 unique team if I wanted to, but it's not the thing I enjoy about this game. What I enjoy about this game the most is watching the players play and then in return getting a card of a player that excites me.
Mm-hmm.
It isn't really about the value. Like for me, if I win a card that has a good L15, I genuinely don't care what their value is. As long as it's a card where I feel like, oh, this could strengthen my lineup, that's all I need. That is all I need. So if I was in his position, I would go on a 23 rare pro and then the cap 214 rare.
I think that question is just such a great view of Sorare right now, that
Mm,
those two things are comparable. And you're
yeah,
just like, one of them is the obvious yield answer, and the
yeah,
other one is the obvious fun answer. And people are like, I don't know which one I want to do. And that's, I don't know.
yeah.
You brought up the unique 240. Surface here says, if you knew that thresholds were staying for a minimum of 24 months, would you try to get a cap 240 unique side?
Yes. If I knew for sure, yeah, I would. Because you can use super airs in there, no? I believe.
You can use one, I believe.
Yeah,
Can you
right?
still
So
do that?
it would be goalkeeper. I think you can.
I think
If
you can
it's
still do
only
that.
uniques, then probably not.
I'm just showing how that I really am so far away from cap 240 unique.
Weren't you
Let's
thinking about it as well, though? I thought there was a period where you thought about it.
yes, you can play one super rare. Excuse me. I
There you
did
go.
think about it. Yes.
So yeah, in that case, I would. But they would have to guarantee me that I can keep using that super rare there as well.
Right. Right. Yeah. Yeah. Not just that the threshold stays, but also
Yeah.
that there's not a point where like, hey, you need $5 more
Yeah.
$1,000 to, yeah. Um, Aaron Hager says, do people expect progression too quickly at this point? If you're not investing more money, that progression takes time and patience, which not many people have. I don't have the patience at all.
Yeah, I don't either.
Or the money, actually. I don't know why I took that, why I didn't say that too.
Yeah. I think that has become a thing. I think a lot of people expect to play rare for or limited, whatever, for a couple of weeks and then immediately progress into the next level. And I
Yeah.
feel like a lot of people, including myself at the time, probably completely overestimated their own budget going into a certain division.
Completely agree.
So at the time, I think Limiteds actually came out after I came on. I'm not too sure when Limiteds come out.
It was like August of 21.
Okay, so I came in December 21. I
So
think
what
there
is
was
before
no
that?
Limited. Before that? Okay. So
It should be,
probably
yeah.
at that time, I should have played Limited instead of
Mm.
Rare. Because at the time, I was buying near DMP rares for 100 euro, 200 euros. So I feel like that's definitely an issue with people now expecting progression too quickly. They expect too much of their gallery, and expectation ruins your enjoyment of the game. If you don't get what you are looking for, it just makes it so much worse of a experience.
Yeah, I think the funny thing is that limiteds at that time were the price of rares today. And so part of that was that there just weren't that many limiteds yet.
Yeah.
Like, obviously, every year we get so many more, and so that just, as long as we don't have millions of users, that those prices theoretically should continue to decline. But it seems like
Yeah.
everything goes down, and the pair presses here. Does the price of top rares come into this though? Now that rares are cheap, like, is it easier to dominate the rare division now because theoretically you're closer to getting those dominant cards?
That's where you need that edge, right? So if you want to dominate in that division, you have to have high XP. You have to have collection pieces. That's how you get your edge now. It's not just having that Bayern stack. So many people have that Bayern stack now. It's about having the one with the most XP and ideally making the right choice for the captain. That's how you dominate that division. It's not anymore about having those players in the gallery. Too many people have
Yeah.
it already.
Yeah.
And for me, with the low prices, I would start worrying if the best rare on the platform drops below 1,000 euros. That's a point where I'd be like, don't know how I feel about this anymore. I think Jude goes for like 1,500 or something.
No, he's much. Or yes, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, Mbappe's still in the way higher than that. I just pulled up the rankings.
Wait 2 weeks. Blink says.
I mean, Vlahovic is not.
Yeah, that's
a
joke.
weird one. But like Mbappe, Bolka's not minted now. So yeah, Jude, $1,600. Kane's $1,500. I'm just looking at guys who are actually still minted.
Yeah.
And then
Magnan's
around
under
1,000 now.
There's not a lot. Like 5 players.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's not ideal, but at the same time, it's like, okay, if I step into Sorare now and I spend, let's say, 4K to build a really good team, within 1 game week, technically, I can yield back, what was that, 25, 30% if you win a Jude?
Right.
It's for those people that have been playing the game for a long time, it's extremely frustrating to see the prices now. But for the people jumping in now, I still see the incentive.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. And all of the talk of like new users are going to see all these falling prices and they're not going to join. Like, they don't see those. They also don't even matter.
It makes like this argument of like new users coming in, seeing prices drop and stuff like that makes no sense to me. Absolutely no sense. I don't know why people keep saying that. I'm sorry if I'm offending you, but that's stupid. Because if you jump into this game, you jump into it thinking, oh, this is a cool game. I want that guy. I want that guy. Let me bring these players in. You don't actually go into SorareData, especially if you are a newbie. You are on the Sorare site, which is the UI is obviously not ideal. So people can't even find out how much prices have dropped. So you just go in there and buy the players you want. And that's it. You try to compete. And as you get involved into this community, you learn of things and how stuff was in the past and how stuff is now. But I don't think you even care. Because if I come into the game now and I spend 4, 5K for a team and I can compete for a Jude that is worth 1.5K as the big prize, I don't care. If I can make back so much within just 1 game week, technically, I'm not saying everyone is going to be able to jump into the game like that and just win a Jude. That's not what I'm saying. But I still feel like that incentive for the new user is still there. But I feel like it's there a lot more in certain scarcities compared to others. Like for me right now, jumping into limited would be very disheartening because I feel like you're competing against so many people with such insane high XP cards as well, and collections that they can instantly boost with the instant buy and stuff. It's so freaking hard.
It's not that hard.
Really?
Yep.
Did you finish podium?
I have limited, yes. Did you see there was somebody who they tweeted the other day and I like lost the tweet. It was in French. I think it was in French and I like I'm furious I lost it. But they have finished first in every limited division.
Oh yeah,
now.
I saw that.
Like
yeah.
that might be the most impressive thing I've ever seen on Sorare.
You should get a badge for that.
That is the most. Like winning anything is hard.
Yeah.
winning once in limited is really hard, and then to
Yeah.
do that literally in every division is wild to me. Anyway, ZM Star said, "How far away are we from rare being a total crapshoot that limited is with 500 plus scores?" I don't know.
The thing is, like with any game, back when Warzone came out, everyone was trash at it. Everyone. Like people couldn't hit their shots at all. And it was a fun game because everyone sucked at it. Now, I would never even think about playing that game because people are insane. People get better at games as time goes. That is just a natural thing. Higher scores will be coming in. That's just how it is.
Yes. Yeah, sorry that I thought a comment just popped up, but then it was gone. I think it was Surface saying he'll never believe this. So the reason why I've talked to Surface about this before, he's convinced that someone who comes in to buy a lot of cards will surely look at historical price data. And I get it.
I get it. I get his point in that case. Like, if I'm someone that wants to come in with 50K and invest it into the platform, it is somewhat of an investment that you're making. It is a big undertaking that you're doing there, right? I get that. But if I want to casually play a game and just enjoy football a little bit more than I do now, I still see a big incentive. But if it's someone like himself with a massive gallery that they want to build up, I for sure would be doing my research when it comes to like putting a lot of money onto the platform, how things have been going, because you don't want to jump onto a ship that's sinking.
Sure, sure. So Service said, "I'll never buy this argument that new people completely ignore price history. You can easily look at the Sorare UI just by looking at a card's history, meaning like an individual card's history." So as the number of new users who don't, let me start that over. A vast majority of new users don't use SorareData. Like you
Mhm.
have to get into Sorare a while. You don't sign up to play Sorare and immediately go to SorareData. It takes time for you to
Yeah.
do this.
Yeah.
By the time you are savvy enough to figure out how to use SorareData, you already have cards. Like you're already
Yeah.
in.
You're already in.
And
Yeah.
you can go back and say, "Oh my God, this card I just bought for $100 used to be $5,000." But you already have the card.
Yeah.
And you don't have to buy it for $5,000 either. And so it's almost like you're already in. And
Yeah.
so I completely agree that if you're somebody who is in and you're like, "Man, I could put 100,000, 500,000, $1 million into this platform." And we've seen that within the last year. I don't know, like
Prank C,
Pranksy and
flow
Flow State
states.
and
Yeah.
like, yeah, like they do come in. I have no idea. Frankly, based on their spending, there's no way they looked at historical prices. They just looked at what is the price and I'll buy it. And it's just not, I like historical pricing matters, but not right at the beginning. And that's sort of
That's the
always my
only
point.
point I'm making. I'm not saying that people that have been on the platform for a couple of weeks or maybe a few months don't look at prices of players historically. Of course they do. Of course. But the first time you hop into the game, I don't think you look at historical prices. I don't know anyone who has done it. I haven't done it. I've asked multiple people, have you ever, when you jumped into the game, actually looked at historical price data? Everyone said no. Have you? Have you looked at his? I mean, you came in early on, so it probably makes no sense to ask you. But most of the people, I feel like, just don't do that. They just think, "Oh, who can I actually afford?"
And,
That's all.
and also, but like you are heavily invested in this platform and you are still buying cards. When you buy
Yeah,
a card, if you like, what was the one that everybody, the Palacio Super Rare
yeah,
that you just got?
yeah,
Like if that card used to be $30,000, would you be like, "Well, I'm not going to buy this one because it used to be 30K."
yeah. I mean, I know he would be worth a lot more previously, so I'm okay with it. I just love the player. I've been watching him for a long time now. He used to be one of my favorites to use in FIFA. That's why I'm so attached to the guy. So I'm just glad that he's doing so well, and I can actually just jump into his journey and follow along from this point because I believe in him as a player and what he can provide me with on the game. And I didn't look at what people actually paid for him previously. I only looked at what's the rare worth right now? What would be an unreasonable price to take it towards? What are other champion Europe super rare midfielders selling for that are scoring as well as he does? That's the only stuff that I looked at.
Yeah.
I didn't look at previously.
A few things here. Ricky said the Sorare UI only shows the sale price of the last 20 sales. I think it's more like if you're buying a card and you look at the card history on Sorare and you're like, wow, this card sold for $5,000
Yeah.
2 years ago and now it's $80.
Yeah. If you see Nep stats at the top, you're like, oh. That will never go away, will it?
As says, as a game, do you think most people play for profit or play for fun? As a business, Sorare can't succeed if everyone profits, because that always seems to be the talking point rather than enjoying the game.
Yeah.
I think most people play for fun, but they're the quiet majority. And they're the ones who play for fun and watch content and have a good time. And where was this other one? I agree with Ryan here. I think most new users are joining because they enjoy fantasy sports, not as a 401k type investment.
Yeah.
I
Especially
agree.
through rivals now.
Right. And I'm not saying that there aren't people coming on because they're like, I can make a lot of money doing this. God bless them if they feel that way. But I think most people here are like, hey, that looks like a fun game. And at some point, they are presented with, hey, if you spend a little more money, you might be able to do better at this game. And enough people say, cool, I'll do that. Or others don't. And that's where, that's fundamentally where the platform is now, I think.
Yeah. I totally agree on that. What's Surfer saying there? Can you pop that
If
up
we
on the
could get a
screen?
few months of price stability, that could help a lot. A lot of new users came in the Q4 of 2023, have only seen lowering prices. Most people playing for fun now than profit, or more people playing.
Yeah, stability would be a nice thing. I think that's what most people kind of want. They just want to keep playing the game because they love the game and what it kind of provides, the experience that it gives you. At least that's how I feel like my community feels most of the time. People just don't want they don't want the platform to die, right? Most people don't want this game to go away because it has provided them with such a great community to interact with, talk football all day, scout players, watch games, all that stuff. So I think stable prices would obviously be a great thing. And as you mentioned previously as well, I think Nicolas saying that they don't affect the prices on the market is, yeah, that stuff doesn't give me that much hope. So hopefully we get a decent announcement now soon. It's only, what, a week until February. So let's see how it goes this time. See you guys in March.
I want to believe that he was either mistranslated or he just misspoke, because I honestly cannot think that somebody who works at Sorare thinks they have no effect on the market. Like,
Yeah.
Anyway, as says, does it not depend on how they find the game, meaning the new users? If they're referred, whoever's showing them the platform should show them how to check historical prices.
Yes.
And if not, I imagine it's tough for a new user to find. Yeah. I mean,
Totally
I
agree
just,
on that.
I don't, if you're playing the game today, I don't think what something cost 2 years ago matters in terms of whether you're still going to buy that card. I think the way that it matters is you look at his falling prices and you convince yourself that they're all going to zero. And then you say, I'm not joining this platform. But other than those two things, I'm just not sure what looking back 2 years does.
Yeah, like if I could completely erase my history with Sorare and I could discover the game now, I probably would spend the same amount again because I really enjoy the game. And that's me being dead honest. Like if I could erase my history now and I would have the same budget that I invested into it over multiple months, multiple years that I could put into the game now, I would do it. And I think that's one of those things that I have to consider as well when I think about like, hey, does it make sense to play this game anymore? If I ask myself that question, my answer is no, I wouldn't do it. That's probably the point where I'm like, okay, probably a good time to get out.
So you think limited is impossible?
For me, with the amount of I think if I want to play it, I want to play it perfectly, right? So I've been on the platform long enough to know that if I want to have an edge on people in that limited division where tons of people are engaging in the
Yep.
divisions, I need to have high XP collections. Players that I don't actually want to have in my gallery have to be there just to add that collection bonus. All those things, it would just fill up my gallery with players. And I just don't feel like it's something I want to do right now. But if I'm someone that only has a budget to be able to compete in limited, but still get what I just mentioned, I would do it.
Mhm.
Yes. Because if that's my budget, so be it. Like, I wouldn't overextend.
I just think there's fundamentally a disconnect between people who play limiteds and people who talk about limiteds.
Hmm. Okay.
So I think that, I mean, we know that more people play limited division contests than anything else.
Yes.
And the reason of that is primarily price. I think there are lots of people who, if price wasn't an option, they would play rares. And if price wasn't a consideration, they would play the higher scarcities because beating 15,000 people is harder than beating 100. And like the unique
Yes.
divisions are like you're playing against dozens of people,
Yeah.
not dozens of thousands of people. Um, but I think for the most part, people who play limited divisions enjoy the game and enjoy building their teams and scouting and competing. And whether they're winning, I think the kind of not it's not a I don't know what word I'm looking for, but and it comes like there are plenty of people that I talk to on this channel who are like, limiteds aren't worth it because you have a really good team and you win a card worth like $13.
Mm.
And it's like, I think actually a lot of people on this platform are psyched about that. And
Yeah.
they realize that they win $13 this week, and then they can win a $8 card the following week, and then a $20 card. And I almost feel like and I don't want to say a majority, but there are a lot of limited only players who play this game as a game and appreciate that and have fun with it.
Yeah.
And they're mostly ignored because so many people are like, no, you should just go buy some rares. Just do
I,
that.
I agree with you. It's probably the most enjoyable experience in terms of like not caring as much if things go wrong is probably the limited division because it doesn't hurt as much when things
Maybe.
go wrong. So I would completely agree on that point that it probably is some of the most fun you can have on the platform because you don't have to think about the financial aspect so much. It's just it's not that important. But as you go and progress higher, then it becomes an issue. And it's like, oh, I spent 400 euros on this guy. Now he's injured for half a season. That type of stuff. That's when things get rough. But if you play limited and you have, I don't know, one of your best players getting injured at this point now, it's not that much money to jump in there and be like, oh, let me just go ahead and get this other guy and issues fixed. Fine. Let's move on.
Yeah. Yeah. I feel like back to what we were saying about the whole like progression versus domination, that
Yeah.
it feels like the progression push is higher in rare, which is weird because you would think that so rare are like, no, go from limited to rare, that's progression.
Mhm.
But it really feels like it's rare to super rare with rare plus in between. And this is where everyone's like, this is why we need limited pro.
Yeah.
Um, but the reason why I think the reason why there is not as much like advice basically from going to limited to rare is because of how many people play limiteds and they want to dominate limiteds, and they're like that's what they're happy to doing.
Yeah.
I
I
just
guess
like I think if you took
that
a
was a
poll of like
viable way of playing the game, yeah.
yeah, I think if you took a sentiment poll, I would guess that people who play only limiteds are the happiest ones on the platform.
I would assume so, otherwise it makes no sense that that many people are in there. So it probably has to be that way. And
Yeah.
yeah, I agree. Like, I mean, now you're making me want to buy limited cards. Because like I like the feeling of being able to put out extremely strong lineups. And with my budget, it's much easier to do that in limited than it is in rare
Sure.
or specifically in super rare. So for someone like me who really enjoys the game, it probably could be another side game that I could do for myself where I don't have to care about the values of the players that much. I can just jump in there and play the cards that I want and see how things go. If those players that I bought are maybe players that I feel like could help me in the higher scarcities as well, maybe I just do the vertical stacking stuff that was a thing a while ago. I feel like a lot less people are doing it now, including myself.
Mhm.
So yeah, I I I I I understand.
The vertical stacking thing was kind of it was an interesting discussion because and you could almost make the argument it's easier to do it now than ever because vertical stacking was always really hard because if you had really good rares, getting those super rares, it was just like the prices
Mm,
were absurd.
yeah,
And now it's actually closer than ever in terms of like raw value.
yeah,
And you're right, we don't see it as nearly as often.
yeah. It's
Can't
interesting.
all have Midland rainbows. That's all.
And this signed shirt and everything. But hey, at least we got that right. You don't have it?
Should I be upset I don't have one of those?
Probably.
I feel like every single person who's ever made a So Rare video is wearing that hat now and eating that
Yeah.
green chocolate, and I
You know
don't.
what I don't like though? It came in. I missed the mail, like the email for it, and I found it in my junk mail. I was like, "Can I still get it?" And he was like, "Yeah, sure."
They
And then
emailed you about it?
yeah, they emailed me about it. It was in my junk mail. It might be in your junk mail
It
too.
might be, you're right. I'm blaming all the wrong people.
Yeah.
Anyway, sorry. Um, Brian says, Chani, does the SorareData lineup strength indicator increase your excitement around strong lineups? I get pumped when I have a higher number.
Oh, mate, as soon as something is above 80, I'm like, yes, this is the game week. This is the one. And if
Isn't
it goes
that?
past 90, I'm like, oh, I already won. I won. It's done.
It's just
That's how
done.
it goes. Except when Bayern just go ahead and lose against Werder Bremen at home, but that's a different story.
Mm, yeah. Um, where was this? Here we go. Tommy B. I used to play Rare and Super and sold my gallery last summer. I recently got a limited collection just to play for fun. It's so calm, and I don't spend half as much time on the site researching.
Okay, so now the question would be for him because he could be the guy that Sorare don't want because they want you to keep spending. Obviously, that's how their business model works. So if he's someone now that just plays the game casually and doesn't actually spend more to become stronger or progress, is that what Sorare want? Probably isn't. So I wonder if that's something that they have to be worried about, that people are fine with being where they are. But it's their fault for not making them want to progress, right?
I think there is a positive in that, and I don't know the circumstances. And Tommy, if you want to share at least a little bit, but there's enough of a draw in the game where it's like you sell all your rare and super rares and you leave for a bit, and then you're like, I kind of want to play again. And you
Yeah.
come back, and limited is where you come back in, and maybe that's where you're comfortable.
Mm.
But being able to like look at something that at some point you were like, I'm done with this. And then you're like, that was really fun though. And you just go
Yeah.
back, even with a brand new kind of mindset of I'm playing this for fun, I think is fine. Like obviously, So Rare would prefer everybody to buy
Yeah.
rares and super rares, but I mean,
But again,
realistically, they're
we've
having
seen
both.
that with multiple people so far. I mean, you and I have been on the platform for quite some time now, and I feel like I've seen it multiple times where people sold off, came back, sold off, came back. It just keeps on happening. And it just shows that the game has fundamentally something that people just love about it, right? It's just about getting it right. And a lot of people talk about this whole marketing thing and like new users, and stuff like that. But I feel like we're kind of forgetting the situation globally and what is going on, how price has gone up for everything that you buy. Like I go buy food for one day. It used to be 20 euros. Now it's 40, 50. I'm like, what is this? I'm just buying food for one day. I
You eat a
remember
lot
when I was
though.
a
Come
kid, I
on.
was able to like go with my mom to the grocery shop and we would buy for 100 euros for the entire week.
Mhm.
Now you can maybe buy for 3 days, unless you buy just pasta and sauce. Uh, a lot of people keep forgetting about like this is the situation right now. People don't have that much money on the side. Even if you do all the greatest marketing ever, it might not work as well as people kind of hope it would.
Everything in the world is more expensive except Sorare cards. Um,
I mean, they are less expensive now.
uh, Tommy came with an update, said lined up with a house move at the time in terms of selling the rares and super rares. And
Okay.
maybe back to them one day, but really depends on more clarity from Sorare with the roadmaps, etc.
That's an interesting point. I'm in the same position now where I'm about to move to Dubai, right? My wife finally got her passport confirmation.
Let's
Yes.
go.
So we've been working towards this for 15, 16 months now. And I'm in the same situation where I'm like looking at my gallery. I'm like, okay, if I was to sell a bunch of this stuff, it would allow me to make the move even easier. So in situations like that, I mean, I don't necessarily need it. I have other assets that I could sell. But if I rank my assets in terms of like importance, Sora is probably on the lower side because it's
Mhm.
just a fun thing I do on the side. So I completely understand why he would do that. That and hopefully people that are in a situation like that actually make the move to get rid of their cards. Please, guys, if you are in a spot where you financially are struggling and too much money is on this platform, leave.
Mhm.
Sell out, cash out. That's it. Not sell up, sell out.
My man. Yes. Hopefully it's up, but who knows? Who knows?
Yeah.
Um, yeah, sorry, I just caught this. Mickey said, I have a limited playing goalkeeper this coming game week and just spent €4 to fill out a squad, and it felt amazing. Now, Mickey Fu is not a limited only player, and I know this because there are at least 20 cards that Mickey Fu owns that I tried to buy, and they got it before me. And there was a time, this is a total tangent. There was a time where I considered Mickey Fu like my so rare nemesis.
Oh, okay.
Because it was like I thought I found something. I'm like, here we go. And then I went to like see what happened. And then every single time it was like, oh, who's the last purchase? Mickey Fu 3 days ago. And I'm like, what the we're friends now.
He's actually my go-to guys in my Discord. I always talk with him about all the purchases I'm making and stuff. He's
Yeah.
definitely a knowledgeable dude.
Yes. Yeah. But anyway, I like Mickey Fu. Anyway, Charlie said, so if I'm in financial ruin, I shouldn't buy a unique threshold team. Agreed. Just not financial advice, but there might be easier ways. Chani, Bobby wants to know if you're playing the America region this summer.
No, because of the move. Because of the move. Honestly, I wanted to, but because the move kept shifting further and further towards the summer, now I need that my money that I'm earning now for the move and getting things set up and stuff. So it will probably be a quiet period for me throughout the summer, but it worked the last time, so hopefully it does again, and we'll
Yeah,
see how things go.
I was going to bring that up, that it really wasn't all that detrimental last time anyway. So I'm
Yeah.
reminded of you and Josh Forth, who were like, I'm not going to play in the summer. And we're like, you guys are nuts. And then all of a sudden it felt like 3 days later, your cards were back. And it was like, what?
Yeah. I
Oh,
mean, it
no.
was what do we have? We had some tournaments. What
We
was
had the
going on? The
under 21
Nations League?
Euros.
Yeah, under 21 Euros and then the Nations League as well. That
Yes.
stuff was going on. So I felt like every 2 game weeks, 3 game weeks, I had a team. So it was
Yeah.
much easier to get through that period and stay focused on the European cards that I wanted to get into my team. But I
And
mean,
the
this time we have
Eredivisie,
the Euros, so
yeah. Eredivisie
probably gonna be
restarts
easier.
fairly early in the summer too. So your Feyenoord boys like came back and were,
Yeah,
yeah.
that was fun.
That's why I got into Midtjylland, because they started so early.
Yeah. When are you buying a unique stack of Midtjylland?
Mickey Fu probably has it already.
There
No,
we go.
yeah, the uniques are a little far for me.
Yeah. So where are you on this point actually with the whole domination versus progression thing? So your gallery, obviously, you play limited, rare, and you have super rares and stuff, right?
I barely play limited.
Okay. So you are rare and do you
Mostly
play rare
rare,
and rare plus?
rare plus, and Cap 240 is super rare.
Okay, no other divisions in super rare?
Um, no.
Okay.
And it's mostly a goalie issue. Like I have a couple goalies, but like I have like a J League one, I have an MLS one, I have a Don from Sporting, I have a Jonas Lasso from Midtjylland. So like they're all kind of spread out. So
Mhm,
hopefully in like 2 months, I'll have a bunch and I can play. But
mhm.
super rare is excuse me, Cap 240 is where I play my super rares. But that's the first lineup I build.
Yeah.
Like I'm like, do I have a super rare goalie? Yes. How do I build a threshold team? And then I'll play rare plus. But to be totally honest, and this like today's discussion included this, like I'm considering prioritizing the rare divisions instead
Okay.
of rare plus.
Oh, okay. So on the whole progression versus domination thing, you're more on the side of domination than
Um, Progression for me is too expensive at this point.
or maybe progression for you is wanting to win more.
Yeah, yeah,
That's
yeah,
that's all it is, right? So it doesn't have to be just scarcity based, but like for you, it's more like I'm just trying to win more consistently. And with
yeah.
my budget, I can do it much better in the rare divisions.
I will say that the problem that I have with super rare, mostly for threshold and then trying to get like elite super rares if I wanted to compete in the super rare division, is
Yeah.
the cards are so illiquid
Mm,
that if I want to get out of a card, even if it's like a good card, it's like difficult to sell a lot of super
yeah.
rare,
Yeah.
at least for
I get it.
reasonable prices. And so rare, I just like the the liquidity of rares more.
Yeah.
But we'll see. Most of my cards are better. Like I have better America cards and Asia card. Well, a couple. So it's like the America Asia off season is just dreadful for me. I hate it.
Yeah. I get that.
But I also have been thinking of Champion Europe. Like every card I look at that I'm like, oh, I should get this card. I'm like, is there a Champion Europe card I should get instead? And just what you said kind of at the beginning, that when Nicholas says stars will be stars, like that's where the stars are. And so
Yeah.
should I get Champion Europe cards?
Unless he thinks Messi is the only star in the world.
Got one. We're good. I
There
beat
you
the
go.
game. Yeah. We'll see. We'll see. Um, we're at 69 minutes, so I think that's good for us today.
A
Unless you
good
had
session.
any lasting thoughts before we go.
Um, I think one last thing I want to say is like, ideally, when you play the game, be realistic about your budget and don't progress just for the sake of progressing. I think that's a mistake that I've made. That's a mistake that probably you and others have also made. And too many times it brings you into a position where you have to give up so much of your gallery value to then progress downwards again and
Mhm.
get stronger and then progress properly into the next division when you have the pieces that actually are good enough to be able to compete there. So I would leave it on the thought of look at your budget, be realistic about it, understand that you're going to be competing against good cards in higher divisions as well. It's not like some magical thing where you can just go ahead and buy some average players and going to be able to win cards consistently. Yes, on the off weeks you probably can, but consistently that's going to be an issue. So, if you want to play the game to the best of your abilities, do your best with the budget that you have. Don't overextend.
I love it. Love the advice for sure. So yeah, thank you everybody for joining, particularly all those live in the chat. Those comments are always really helpful And we appreciate the live feedback of like what we're discussing and getting some more info. So thank you, everybody. If you could please like, subscribe, all that good stuff. Shout out to Quinny. And I'll be back tomorrow with Andy to talk about one of the most absurd things we have ever discussed. And you'll just have to tune in to find out what it is. So thank you, everybody. Chani, thank you. And good luck out there.
Yeah, you too.